Hey everybody, it's Brandon Broussard, founder of High Performance Academy Master's Course, and welcome back to another phenomenal and amazing coaching call. I want to thank you all for your continued dedication to not being a browser in your life, but rather being a master. For your dedication to continuing your learning and not just taking these ideas as something you think about or some good ideas that one day inspired you or changed your energy or got you motivated, but also as something that you go and put into practice. You know, it's such an incredible thing, and I really hope that you sense it and you own it and you have pride in the fact that you're actually someone who doesn't just kick tires in life. You know, that you're somebody who says, I want to take my life to the next level. We've got an entire sea of people right now who are challenged or frustrated or restless, or they already are successful and they know they want to go to the next level, but they won't put the very simple thoughts and behaviors into their life that would actually lead to a different quality of life. But the fact that you raised your hand and you said, hey, I'm into this game, let's roll, and you joined us in the High Performance Academy says everything. And I once again just want to honor you for your dedication to this, your commitment to this. I've been really, without question, just astounded by the number of interactions we had in our members area. I don't think I've ever had so many posts and so many comments and so much engagement by a group this fast. And I'm really excited by it because you all are on fire. You know, it's like I cannot wait to hear where you're at in 3, 6, 9, 12 months from now when you're doing this. When the concepts we've talked about so far, in Module 1, Psychology, Module 2, Physiology, Module 3, Productivity, Module 4 now with Persuasion. To hear you hit the ground running and put these concepts into play every single day, that is what juices me. That's what gets me so excited. You know, one of the great things about having a lot of energy in life is it comes from being connected to doing meaningful things, just as you've heard us talk about in the last several modules. And to me, what could be more meaningful than knowing that you all are out there living an entirely different quality of life or on your way to an entirely different quality of life because you're putting these things into play. I remember the days in which my life literally changed, and I say days because I remember these big, amazing incidences in my life, from my car accidents to just epiphanies. But I always think about, those days were important. But what was more important were the months and the years that followed those epiphanies, in which I put what I learned in those moments into practice in my life to literally change the quality of who I was as a person. And I know that's kind of wild to think about sometimes in your own life, right? Think about how many, oh my gosh, like aha moments you've had, right? These moments where you're just like, you're clearing your throat, you can't believe where you're at. It's like, God, how did I not know that? Or, something opens up your mind and you have this moment of insight that's so powerful. You're like, wow, this will change everything. Well, did it change everything? If it did change everything, I would argue that that insight was meant by quick implementation, steady implementation, a whole new level of behavior or thinking in your daily life that was real to you. And I hope that many of these concepts, as you've taken your notes and you've thought through these concepts we've been sharing, these strategies, these tools, these ideas, that they're just not worksheets that live in a 5-week period with us here. They're not just, moments in time in which you were inspired. But rather, 5 years from now, you can look back and say, those moments of insight I had in High Performance Academy, I actually implemented them. And that's why I'm here today. And I know it's a struggle sometimes because I know I'm preaching to the choir. You're already a successful person. You're already a motivated person. You're already a top 2% person because that's the few people in the world who would raise their hand and say, let's continue this journey. Let's go for it. Let's get these new distinctions, even if they're just reminders in some areas or they're complete breakthroughs in other areas. Whatever they are, I'm going to put them into practice. And this is where we really need to hit the rubber needs to hit the road here as we talk about persuasion. Because I can share with you, I've been so blessed to have learned so much about this idea of persuasion from some of the world's great influencers. Not just from our past history of those people I've studied who were great leaders in our past, but the people who are now today considered the best marketers, or the best political leaders, or the most followed people on Twitter and Facebook. Most of these people I'm blessed to count as many of them as friends and many of them as clients. But in this call, I'm going to break it down for you even further and share with you some of the lessons that I've had in building multi-million-dollar businesses, and share with you the insights at a more tactical level in terms of persuasion that will help you become even more influential in your life. Because, I know so much about what we're doing here in High Performance Academy. There are a lot of people, they really watch the videos more than these coaching calls. And I get that, I understand that. But I'm really happy that you're here listening to my voice. Whether you're listening with us now live or you're listening to this recording later on, you're here. And so take some time today and really tune into this call and really think about how you're building your business, or how you're influencing your teams, or how you're selling your products and your programs. Because this one is really one area for me that I would say has made the greatest difference, and that's knowing how to influence other people. And as in-depth as we already went in this week's training, with all the videos. I know there was a lot, right? And there's a lot of training in each one of these, and I'm happy that most of you are going through all of this. I hope that all of you at some point decide to finish all of these. But I also know that we're here now. So let's take what we discussed in the video to a whole other level. In our video, if you haven't watched it yet, boy, I hope you go back and you watch these, because one of the comments we got a lot via email was people saying, wow, you went into territory I didn't even know you had to cover here. Because in Persuasion, what I wanted to do in that in the videos was cover the big concepts of what you would do in an influence situation. How you would maybe structure your conversation, or the big concepts you need to think about in any influence situation. Whether you're trying to influence someone to buy your products, or you're trying to influence your spouse to change their behavior, or you're trying to influence your child to begin something new. We have to do those things that we talked about, of being honoring to them and not hurrying through making our case. Framing what we're sharing as something that is positive and of mutual benefit. Of describing the future benefit in daily detail. Of talking about this shift of going into intrinsic and extrinsic motivations and rewards as we make our case for change. Of always having implied consequences so that people know why they need to change and why they need to do it now. Of making real deadlines when the situation calls for it. All of those concepts alone, those concepts help me build multi-million-dollar brands. Some people say they're so basic. Yeah, well, Larry Bird would say a foul shot was pretty basic. So would Michael Jordan. It's not about whether it's basic or not. It's how much they practiced it, and then when the moments counted, we're able to implement. And that's what this is about too. That you can study these and look at them and just look at the two post-it notes that I post here. Or you can say, next time I'm going to try and influence someone, I'm going to vary my intrinsic and extrinsic reward conversation with them. Kind of like a roller coaster. Up in the extrinsic, down the intrinsic. And I'm going to vary that throughout the conversation. I'm going to speak to the daily impact these changes can make in their lives. I'm going to realize that my job in persuading is really in leading and showing up as a leader and being someone of influence in other people's lives and just deciding you're that. So many people say, I wish I was more influential, Brendan. And often I say, you are. You're either influencing in this moment or you're not. It's like influence is not something that you have, it's something that you generate, which has been a theme of High Performance Academy this entire time. It's not what you were birthed with or given by blessings or gifts and things like that. No, it's about what you choose to develop, to amplify, to what you'll share with the world. And in this moment, whether or not you'll wait for hope and luck and opportunity to come in, or whether you'll be self-reliant and you will generate that and you will create that. And I think influence is one of those places in which most people really underscore themselves, and they fail to adequately think about the influence they're really making in other people's lives. And with that, we're going to discuss persuasion at that level of getting influence. But as I promised, we're going to go even at a more tactical level here. In this coaching call, I'm going to cover some core concepts in marketing and sales. I'm also going to cover a sales outline that you can use and that I use in my videos or in my sales presentations. This is literally the outline that I've used in a video that generated $4.1 million in sales in 6 days. This is an outline that I have used to speak to a group of people who at the end of that presentation end up signing up for over $500,000 of my products and programs. This is an outline that I have used in conversation with an ex-president to help shape something that I was trying to achieve. This is an outline that I have used to get high-end clients to join my products and programs. This is an outline that I've shared with others who have gone on to use it in multi-million-dollar online launches, in multi-million-dollar sales presentations. And this is all part of your small investment in High Performance Academy. So I hope that you understand the value of what we're sharing here today because, I've been blessed in these distinctions of building. It's tough to build 5 brands at $1 million level in 5 years without knowing something about persuasion. And so this conversation will be something that's critical for you, potentially for your marketing team if you have one, and certainly for your business growth going forward if you're an entrepreneur. If you are somebody who is working for somebody else, think about the next time you're going to make the case for change of a project you want to start, or you're trying to get a new budget, or you're trying to get your team to change. These concepts will be important as well. At the end of the day, sales is what we do, and selling is not evil, and influence is not evil when used and directed towards productive and positive ends and objectives. And I think that you'll see in our next module, when we take on purpose and leadership and we tie this thing together, and believe me, I just watched the footage of this next one. We just finished it, and I have to tell you, it's one of my favorite modules of training I've ever done my entire life. And you're going to flip out by where we go with it and where that coaching call will head to. But here we are now. So let's talk about persuasion now and get really focused on, as I said, more of the tactical realm. Because remember, in the video modules, we covered the big picture concepts that you must know, and these are the big picture concepts that move the needle in your ability to influence other people. So I shared that in the video if you haven't seen it. I also shared how do you use persuasion and influence in relationships when there's conflict. And I know people didn't even know I was going to go there, but I thought, it would be ridiculous to talk about persuasion without also helping people realize, well, how do you persuade somebody and influence somebody when you're in conflict? So if you've ever had a challenge with your children or with your spouse or with your boss, and it's a one-to-one relationship, you're having conflict, I gave you the map for how to move through that in this module, this videos. And I hope that you watch that because, if anything, we know about persuasion, sometimes in the critical moments in which it really counts, it's often in conflict. And I hope that you will pay attention to that and make that a practice next time you find yourself in conflict. So with that, grab your notes. I'm going to pull out mine right now, my notes, and we're going to go through some bigger picture concepts and tactics in sales and marketing in terms of persuasion. Okay, so first and foremost, let's set a frame here about what we're about, which is I'm going to teach you some things that we use to literally generate millions of dollars. And as I share with you these concepts, I'm just going to share, as always, the needle-moving, must-know and must-practice ideas of marketing. And again, if you ever find yourself anywhere in this program saying, that's so basic. Okay, well, are you going to be a junior varsity player of knowing how to do a foul shot, or are you going to become an MVP in the National Basketball Association, the NBA? Well, that's the difference between Michael Jordan and somebody on a team who never goes to the professional level. They knew the basics of all the moves, but they did them more often, which is why they experienced a different quality of success and results in their life. And this will be like that as well. That these are things we have to practice when we get into these needle-moving strategies. I got to set a big frame note here. And that's important to me to share with you because some of what I'm going to share with you can certainly be used in sort of unethical or inappropriate ways. And what do I mean by that? Well, as many of you know, I'm in the expert industry. You know, I'm compensated and I have a career for sharing my advice and my knowledge and my wisdom with people. Just like we're doing here. This is what I do. And there's been other people in our industry who unfortunately learned lots of good marketing or sales, or they learned some of the sequencings and strategies and psychology I'm about to share with you here. And they've gone and created what I would consider unethical sales presentations or programs that lacked real integrity or service or distinctions for people. And so I say this. There's a lot out there in terms of, especially this topic of persuasion, that I think has not only given my industry a bad name, but has also misguided people. You know, there's a lot of people teaching persuasion out there as a method for you to have power over other people, to manipulate them based off certain mental triggers, to control a situation, or to, in some ways, set frames and set triggers and use fancy concepts from NLP or hypnosis to influence somebody in ways that were self-serving and ways that were often unethical. And I frame all that with this. Look, if you're ever listening to somebody who's teaching persuasion and they're teaching it and the frame is all about what you're going to get, I just recommend you stop listening or you run the other way. There's so much information out there that is so selfish-driven already in our world. I don't think we need any more of that. And all these people, in my opinion, who are out there, who are saying, let me give you the way to push all their mental triggers. So they just jump up and they run to the back of the room and they're throwing their credit card at your salespeople because they don't even know why. They just want what you got and they're just throwing everything around. And it's like, no. Creating a frenzy in sales sounds like such an important and fun thing to do, and creating a frenzy in which people don't know why they're taking action, but they're taking action anyway, that ultimately does not build a real brand or a real business or the reputation that you want. It's very sexy to learn how to hypnotize an audience and make them go do something I have never done, nor do I know how to do. I've never studied hypnosis. But I realize that, in our industry, often that becomes a sexy thing to do. And let me give you an example. And for several years in the expert industry, when I was on stages with others, I'd be on a platform presentation style stage in which a promoter brought me there, and I had the opportunity to teach for 80 minutes. And then the last 10 minutes, I get to tell people about one of my products or programs of continuing education that can help other people. And so that people can sign up for my products or programs right there on the spot. They can fill out an order form or go to the back tables and fill out the form. Well, in that amount of time, in this last 5 years, there's very few stages that I've ever been on that I wasn't the number one or number two person in terms of getting the most sales, right? Enrolling the most number of people into my products or programs. And all these people started saying, wow, Brendan, you must be using some ninja psychology on them. You must be, you must know everything about this. You must be doing something. Everyone know, what NLP trick are you using, and why did you stand over here, right there, and then, and they think it's this big architected thing, and I go, actually, I just tried that 80, everyone's still focused on the last 10 minutes. I was focused on the 80 minutes. I was focused on how do I add such a supreme amount of value and distinctions and share just the right number of needle-moving strategies in this presentation that would inform them and help them change their life. And if I get there, then they sign up, awesome. Not to say that I don't have a way of thinking through my last 10 minutes of a sales presentation, but I want you to hear the frame that everything that I've done in all of my sales presentations and all of my life has been first and foremost about the service standpoint, not the sale. It's been about adding tremendous value and creating real relationships with people based on value and caring and heightened ambitions for them to live the best quality of life that they could live. And then the sale was always secondary. And so I start this conversation about persuasion before we even get into tactics with the frame that, you know what, it's your intentions that matter more than anything else. That it's so fun to focus on only the sales, and so many people think that the sale happens in the last 10 minutes. The sale is happening the entire 80 minutes before. It's happening the second that I take stage and I start adding value to people's lives or not adding value. The moment they can feel that I care or that I know something that will change and move the needle for them, that's when it all counts. All of your interactions with people are crescendoing to the call to action, the thing that you want them to do for their own benefit. And notice I said the thing that you want them to do for their own benefit, not the thing that you want them to do so you can make more money. And another problem with a lot of people who discuss persuasion in our industry is they're just training persuasion with the end goal and objective about money. Make money, make money, make money. And believe me, I'm all for you having extreme amounts of wealth and abundance in your life. I'm all about that. But what I'm more about is when I study persuasion and the great leaders of our time is to notice what the most admired human beings of our time, the most admired people probably in your life right now, the most admired people in communities, the most admired people in companies are those who, it's not about how they manipulate other people. It's not about how they, they're not known and they're not famous for being able to hypnotize people and make people run into a frenzy and do stupid things. They were all about a grander vision for other people. The great leaders of our time, we don't celebrate Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech because it was something so awesome in which he motivated that crowd to do. We celebrate him because the message of what he was attempting to do, the message that we all connected with, the message that, we could all be more magnificent. His message that, yeah, he's got a dream, I've got a dream. We're all the same. This idea that persuasion can be used to extraordinarily powerful ends is motivating and inspiring to me. And I hope it is for you too. And I guess I begin that way because I've gotten so tired of seeing people trying to teach some fancy strategy just to get a sale, not to lead. And I suggest that the better that you lead, the more sales you're going to have anyway. So keep your eye on using persuasion as a tool for influence to do greater good, to add value to people, to be of service, to change the direction of the world. Then persuasion means something, and it just happens to be more effective as well. With that, here's what I want to do. As I discuss each of these concepts in persuasion and marketing and sales, I want you to take notes on them. And as usual, as everything I've done in High Performance Academy, I've often referred to it and suggested that you rate yourself, that you look at your last sales presentations or your last interactions with others or your last couple days or weeks of your life, and you rate yourself. Part of being a high performer is the willingness to say, how am I doing in this area? How are you doing in your psychology? Have you been present these last 5 days? Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being totally present, 1 not so much. How have you been doing? How about your physiology? Have you been exercising? Have you been eating well? Have you been drinking and hydrating enough? Scale of 1 to 10. How have you been doing? How about your productivity? Have you been crushing it lately and getting things done and minimizing distractions? If not, go back and listen to our coaching call on productivity. Watch the modules training videos. If you ever find yourself in any of these areas not performing at a heightened and sustained level, then go back and watch the training and realize it's not just about how to think, it's about how to do, and go behave differently, and you'll get different results. Well, with that, I'm going to ask you about your last sales presentations And let me qualify sales presentation. Sales presentation is the last time you tried to get anybody to take an action in which they had to believe in an idea or commit to something that you were asking them to believe in or commit to. Remember that definition that we talked about in our module? That, each of these modules begins with a definition, but the definition itself is also our goal. And persuasion is about influencing others to believe or commit to something. And so, last time you tried to get someone to believe or commit to something, how well did you do in these areas I'm going to share with you? And specifically, what I'd like you to do, if you are in sales, and you're in sales if you're in business, if you are a business person who owns their own business, you are a marketer, you are a person who is in charge of bringing in new revenue for your business, then you're in sales. And sales is not evil. There's a lot of people are sales evil. Like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? No. It's like, it's everything. Like a banana can be evil, ladies and gentlemen. It's how it's used. So it's like, everything is like that way. A gun can be a good thing or a bad thing. It's just like, whatever is utilized and how it's utilized is important, right? And that way is with sales too. So, in your last sales presentation, whether it was you were selling something online, either through text or video, or you were standing in front of the boardroom of people. How did you do in each of these areas? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you concepts that you need to consider for your next persuasion situation in which you are selling or marketing anything. And each of these areas I'll kind of go into. They're in an order, but these are high-level concepts. And now I'm going to give you my specific sales outline that I think will take it to another level for you too. Okay? So here we go. The big concepts that I want to cover, imagine this, there's a little alliteration to them, so that they all begin with a C, and I know I'm weird about that. It just happens to be the world actually lines up that way. I have no idea why, but it does. So here we go. The first concept in marketing and sales, and probably the most important concept in marketing and sales, is this: the claim. Claim, as in C-L-A-I-M. The claim. Which is, if you're thinking about marketing, you're thinking about, okay, well, what's my headline? If you're thinking about sales, you're thinking about, well, what's my value proposition? What is my promise to others? What is it that I'm promising? That's the claim. And the claim, when you watch infomercials, is always repeated several times, sometimes in different ways, but the claim is essentially repeated over and over again. If you got a Sam Wow, their claim is this thing soaks up more water than anything else, and you need to get one. And so the claim is all about this thing can soak up water like you can't believe, and they're going to show us 50 different ways that happens over and over and over again, aren't they? That claim is the claim is the thing that weaves throughout the entire marketing or sales presentation, right? A lot of people think the claim is just the headline, and that's why they have no idea how to create a good sale. Your claim should weave throughout the sale. If you have a 30-minute presentation, you should hit that claim on the head 6 or 7 times in different ways to prove the point. But at the beginning of considering and thinking through a sales or marketing presentation, you should think about, well, what is it that I'm promising that this happens? Right? What's the grand promise here? The grand opportunity, the grand benefit? What is it that my thing teaches? The claim might be how to make $100,000 in X amount of time, which by the way would be an illegal claim, which we'll talk about later. But it's about, it's like how to do something. What is it? Or the claim could be why this is better than anything else. It's just usually, I think of it as a statement, a headline. And you want to do that. Claim can be how to get thousands of subscribers to pay you every single month. That's a claim, isn't it? It's like a headline. How to get thousands of subscribers to pay you every single month. That's a claim. Now, once you have that claim, your job is to keep whittling it down till it becomes really succinct and specific and exciting, right? How to get thousands of people to pay you every single month is interesting, But if we get deeper into it and we discover, well, how to get thousands of people to pay you every single month without having a website or ever asking for someone's credit card, that's even more interesting, isn't it? Or a claim can be, incredible new system decreases, incredible new system decreases refunds by 45%. Like whatever it is, I'm just making this up as I'm going along with you to illustrate, that the claim is what it is you are promising. It's the headline. And then you're going to refer back to that several times throughout your sales or marketing presentation. Make sense? The claim is everything. It's everything in your business. I mean, it's everything. And you have to really get it down and trying to figure out what it is. And sometimes it takes, you think you figure it out and it gets better and better. I mean, I remember when I was doing Experts Academy, I used to call it, the claim was, how to get paid for your knowledge, advice, and wisdom by being an author, speaker, coach, seminar leader, online marketer. And it was kind of clunky and hard to figure out. Now I just say, this is how to monetize what you know without getting a job. And people are like, wow, okay, how do I do that? Monetize what you know without getting a job. How? That's the claim, right? So I'm going to repeat that several times throughout what I'm talking about. That claim helps kind of structure what I'm going to do later on, which I'll show you. Sorry, these pauses you hear me taking are long pauses to drink water, which I hope you're drinking your multiple liters of water throughout the day as we've been coaching you in this program. I've been speaking so long today, I want to make sure that I take care of my voice for you too. So your claim, you got it, right? You got to have a great claim. The quality of your marketing or your sales presentation is directly proportionate to how compelling your claim is to your audience. Second thing, after you discuss the claim, is you got to discuss the challenges that people usually have associated in this area. In other words, other people would say the pain points, right? If your claim is monetize what you know without getting a job, the challenge might be like, hey, you've been trying to share your knowledge and your wisdom and your advice out there online for a long time, but you didn't know what kind of website to set up. You didn't know how to do marketing. You didn't know how to set up a business that has recurring revenue through all of this. And you struggled for long enough going from seminar to seminar on how to be an author, and then you went to another seminar on how to be a speaker, and then you went to a seminar on how to be an online marketer. You've been trying to figure all this industry out, and you had no idea what you were doing. And I understand, because I've had the same challenge in my life, which I'll get to in a moment. But challenge. What are the challenges people have in your area in which your claim is being made? What are the challenges they have? And just to give just a fun metaphor as we work through here, imagine that Sam Wow, right? This thing soaks up more water than anything. Well, that's cool. And then when we get to the challenge, we're going to talk, you know what? We're going to talk about how, a spill happens and you pull out a stupid piece of single-ply paper towel and you try cleaning it up and you just get this big, wet, soupy mess of, looks like a big goober of water and paper. And it's like, oh, okay, it's as simple as that. But what I want you to do is get more detailed and distinct and thoughtful about the challenges that you're suggesting to people. You'll remember in the online portion of this module, where you watch the videos, that I taught you to speak to the daily impact that people will feel when they make a change you are suggesting. Well, in this way as well, what are the daily challenges that people have in your area? And I'll just speak generically to the group, because I know we have some people who are, we've got marketers in this group, we've got doctors in this group, we've got moms in this group, we've got dentists in this group, we've got chiropractors, we've got speakers, we've got a lot of different people, a lot of different businesses in this group right here. And so I'll just share your area. Your area means you're trying to persuade or market or sell somebody into doing something. What are the challenges they have in that area? If you can list that out and be extremely detailed about that, that's going to make your presentation that much more alive and real to them. I can't emphasize this enough. So many people don't emphasize the challenge enough. They just say, I've got this amazing thing. You should get it. I'm so excited about it. And they get breathless and excited about this thing they have. And they forget to connect that thing they have also to the challenges people are facing in their lives. And this is really important. Once you've got your claim and your challenge, you want to also bring up commonality. Commonality, which is, how have you dealt with those challenges before? How have other people dealt with those challenges before? It's this connection that is made in sales and marketing that's vital, which is, I understand your world. I've been there too, or so have all my clients, and we get it. We struggled with these same things, and we broke through. And the way we broke through was this system, or this program, or this product that you are selling. And that's what's key. That's totally key, is that you're sharing, like, if I watch your sales presentation, where do I say, wow, that person's a lot like me? Where is that? It's stunning. It's stunning how often this is forgotten. And if this sounds basic to you, let me tell you how it's not basic. A person who earned about approximately $1.7 million a year as a speaker hired me to come out and share some time with him going over his presentations on video. And as I was going over some of his presentations on video, I realized, I was like, wow, you're amazing. You're like this super successful person. Your suit is so nice. And boy, I know you're really wealthy and influential and everything, and I just don't relate to you at all. Where are you relating with people? And have you really thought through that? Now, if you're an experienced salesperson, you're already in this point, like, yeah, Brandon, I get it. Next point, come on. No. This is probably where you're losing thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. You're breathing too fast past the commonality, past the struggle. Listen how we frame this thing. It's the claim immediately followed by the challenges and the commonality that bring us together. That's really important. So many people want to march people headlong into buying something or selling something, and they never address the struggle well enough. And because the struggle wasn't real enough in description to people, they're not associated with the pains and challenges and hurts that they're feeling in that area, so they don't take action. It's not about, hammering home people's pains and challenges over and over and over again just to do it. It is about being specific, though, about the challenges people are facing and about the challenges you faced or your clients or your customers have faced too, and how they overcame it. There's nothing more important than commonality in marketing and sales, because when there is no commonality, there's no connection. So our fourth thing, moving from there then, is our credibility. And notice where it's placed. I would say in the major concepts of sales, everyone thinks their credibility is first, and they try to start with that. I never let people do that in sales presentations. And I've been part of presentations like worth literally hundreds of millions of dollars. And I will share with you in that process, I've never, ever, ever seen someone come in there and start by bragging or start by saying, look at all these things we've done. A lot of amateurs try to do that. And that's okay. It's not to say it won't be effective. Hey, I've seen people go in and brag all day long and they got some sales. But my job is to get you to high performance, to help you reach a different level here. And so we're going to bring up your credibility later. And your credibility is going to be after discussing what people have struggled through. And then we're going to share your personal credibility, as well as your company's credibility, as well as the product's credibility. It's kind of the trifecta. It's 3 levels of credibility. Who you are individually, who your company is at a larger level, if you're in a business situation in which you're trying to sell your company as well, and what your product or your program or your service is, and why that is credible. And all of that needs to be played, right? My story, when I'm offering Experts Academy, is, my own story of struggle and that's why I addressed the challenge, my story of struggle of getting my message out there and trying to figure out books and speeches and seminars and coaching and online marketing and my big fight through that. But also my breakthrough of once I did figure it out and sharing it in each of those areas, I had made $1 million. And that was a point of credibility. It was the results part. But I also put in the research part, that not only have I gotten these results, but I've researched everybody. And here's the people who I've researched to understand what they did. And I've got under the hood of so many other businesses doing this. So I have perspective. See, the whole job in building credibility is to let them know that you have perspective. Been there, done that, researched that, know the way for them to march forward. These are all big concepts again in marketing. We'll dial it down even more as we go. But credibility about you, well, I also have credibility about Experts Academy. I said, hey, this is the world's most comprehensive training program on this now, and we've trained more people at Experts Academy than any other training program in history that went across those multiple levels of author, speaker, coach, seminar leader, and online marketer. That's credibility for the organization, the program, the brand itself. And the product, you can also go even deeper there in terms of your products. Why your products? So why are they credible? Because maybe they have a certain amount of effectiveness rate. Maybe they have a low refund rate. Maybe they are unique in one specific way that nobody else is, that they're distinct. And so by doing those three different levels of credibility, you're creating a well-rounded argument, which of course is part of our goal, right? Well, next, it's about time to demonstrate why what you have is the clear choice for them to make today. Choice. Why is what you have such a remarkable choice? And why would they choose what you have over someone else's thing? This is often where you'll talk about the benefits of what you got, the features of what you got, and how these benefits and these features are distinct from other players or other products or other businesses in your space. That your entire job is to make this a clear and compelling choice. That they are either with you or with something else. And it should be a clear and distinct choice. People need to have a picture painted for them of which choices to make in their life. And that's your job, is to paint a picture of different choices and why your choice is the right one, the intelligent one, the fair one, the valuable one, the smart one. All of that should come across blazingly bright, right? It should be totally, clearly obvious. Does your last sales presentation or your last influence situation, your last marketing situation, was there a clear choice? I mean, was it obvious? Did we build an obvious case about why you, your brand, your product, your idea should be bought, sold, implemented, followed? Was it clear? Now, I can tell you, as much as people think they're a fancy marketer, and they're pretty good at this, I've spent the time with the world's greatest, and I can share with you that most of them mess up here too. They think that their choice is obvious because they're attached to it. I want you to detach from what you have for a little bit and look at it from an objective person and go, why would anyone want that? And challenge yourself to build a compelling case for why. What is it that makes this such a clear and obvious choice for them? And if you can't get to there, and I'm not talking about price yet. We'll get there. I'm talking just about the overall quality of what you've got. Why is it what you've got is different? And that very rarely is done well. I just spent some time with someone who did online launch, and in their first day, they did $250,000, and they were just completely devastated and bummed by it. Can you imagine? It's like sometimes we lose perspective. It's like, wait, you made $250,000 in a day? And they're like, yeah, but it should have been $1 million. I know it should have been $1 million. We should have had $1 million in our first day. I can't figure out why. Could you watch my video? I said, all right. So I watched the video, and sure enough, it was an awesome thing, but I didn't know why it was better than anything else. I knew it was an awesome idea, but it wasn't emphasized how incredible this thing really was. Does that make sense? That you want to make sure that the choice is clear. I often like to tell people to present sometimes choice A, B, or C. Not in terms of they can buy A, B, and C, but to juxtapose my product or program against other people's products and programs. And I don't have to reference the other person's brand or the other person's product per se. I just have to reference what those are about and share with where and why mine is different and what mine is about and how that's unique and adds significant value to them above and beyond what other people's products or programs do. Does that make sense? The next C in this model, the first one was claim, the second was challenge, the third was commonality, the fourth is credibility, the fifth is choice. The next C is comparison pricing, which is, as much as we juxtapose how your product or program or idea is distinct and different than other people's, we also need to share why your price point is right. And what I like to do is I teach this idea of price juxtaposition, if you've ever seen any of my work, of the idea of if you're going to announce something as $197, then we should have already demonstrated in our argumentation leading up to it why this thing is worth 10 times that. So to have referenced things that are $20,000 as an example, because if we're selling something that's $200, then I want you to share, well, where is the value point at 20,000 and at 2,000 before I get down to 200? Because we want, by the time you announce the price, we want them to go, oh, that's it? And that is the greatest sales and marketing person ever who can do that consistently. Because look, if they hear the price and like, oh, God, that's so much money, then you have failed as a marketer. You failed in your sales presentation. That by the time, it's not that it can't be high, not that they're like, woof, that's high for me. I'm really going to have to dig deep and open my wallet for that one. That's a lot of money for me. That's okay. But they should still say in their mind, totally worth it. And to get there, sometimes you have to offer and explain higher values. I'll give you an example. My famous Experts Academy program, since I've been using that example, that's $2,000, right? That's a $2,000 program that people have to pay right there. It's not inexpensive compared to, other things they could buy, like a latte. But I'll flip that, and I'll make them understand as I make that presentation. Many of you have seen that presentation before online. It's one of the most effective sales videos, I would argue, in our industry in terms of it's not only it's conversion during a launch, but it's long-term conversion and how many thousands of students it's brought us. And I'll share with you one of the things that I do in there is I'm helping people see that by the time we get to 2,000, it's a deal. So in all the different areas of that program, for example, in the author training section, I'll tell them, I'm like, look, I'm going to give you my book proposal that generated $500,000 in advances. Then we get to the speaking section, and I say, I'm going to give you my speaking campaign that generates $25,000 keynote speech bookings. I'm going to give you the outline for speaking that I use to sell hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm going to give you in seminars, I'm going to show you my seminar model for getting people into seminars and understanding how to work seminars that generate $1 million seminars. I'll show you my online thing that generates millions. Now, when I'm giving all those resources away and I'm discussing the value of them, guess what happens when I get to the point where I say, oh, and my program, is just 3 payments of $697 or $2,000. It's like, oh, well, I'm getting millions of dollars of training and insight for $2,000? What a deal. People say all the time, well, Brennan, I don't have anything. What I'm selling doesn't work like that. I'm not selling a $2,000 thing. I'm selling a $20 thing. I get that. So here's a couple different ways to do comparison pricing, and what I call price juxtaposition, which we'll return to later on, is that can also be, it's not just about money, it's also about time. Because remember, people want to save time, money, and effort. And so sometimes the comparison pricing is also comes out to the point of like, look, I spent 16 years figuring this stuff out. And you're just getting into this industry, and you're just getting serious about it now, so you have a choice. You can decide to go and spend 10, 20, $40,000 over the next couple of years of your life going to all these different seminars, hopping on all these different planes, learning from all these different gurus, or I can just tell you how to do it right now for $19.97. You see, it's a value curve of time saving. They're like, all right, not only is it a good deal financially, because look at all that other value that's out there, but it's going to save me time. That's incredible. And that can lead in this comparison pricing thing too. It's like, look, you can go out and spend something. Look, you're welcome to go. Why don't you go and get an ebook for $20 and see how far a $20 ebook is going to get you? Or you can get in-depth, comprehensive training right now that shows you step by step exactly how to progress through this. So you know not only what to do, but you have examples of what to do that you can model that you know work. Whoa. It's a different level of conversation, isn't it? Next, in these big concepts, the claim, challenge, commonality, credibility, choice, comparison pricing, we have to make sure that throughout this, and again, this isn't necessarily an outline, though I do proceed through things similar to this in terms of thinking and structuring my arguments. But this next one is concern, which is meaning addressing their concerns and their objections. This should weave throughout your presentation. People have concerns and objections to buying your products and programs. What are they? And what I want you to do for your next presentation to help you reach the level of mastery, I want you to define and find 10 different reasons that people won't buy your product or your program, or they're worried about engaging your business, or they're worried about implementing your idea. Whatever it is you're trying to persuade them to do or be or buy or follow, I want you to think about what is it that they're going to have objections about. What's the reason they're not going to raise their hand or pull out their wallet or take the action that you're suggesting? What is that reason? But I want you to come up with 10 of them. 10. And then what I want you to do is, in your sales presentation or your marketing materials, whatever it is that you're doing to try and persuade someone to do whatever it is, I want you to make sure you address all 10 of them and push yourself to find how to do that. And I do that in all my presentations. I think it's one of the reasons that I have multi-million-dollar presentations now. It's because and it's not that I am necessarily having that much more exposure than other people. It's just that I'm converting higher. Why? Because I'm having the conversation that they're having in their head about what they're worried about. They're worried about, oh, well, I don't know how to set up a website, so I have to make sure my program teaches them how to do that, or I address that in the program as a teaching point, right? Or, well, I don't want to do that because I don't have any time for that. Okay, I better address time. Or I don't want to do that because, I really don't have the money to invest in that. And I got to talk about getting resourceful. Or I don't want to do that because it's too hard. I got to address about how it's step-by-step and comprehensive. Or, whatever it is for you, maybe people aren't going to buy it because they don't think it's going to work long enough. Maybe they're not going to buy it because they think they can get a deal over there that's better than yours. And all these things, by the way, they may be true, but your job is to have a rebuttal conversation about it in advance. So really think through that and pepper these 10 things throughout your presentation. Not just one time. That's why I said, as I'm going through this outline of these C's I'm sharing with you, these core concepts, that it's not necessarily in order. These concepts, they've got to be woven throughout. Just like I began this conversation saying, look, the sales presentation that I'm giving when I get 90 minutes on the stage, the sales presentation isn't just the last 10 minutes. It's the whole 80 minutes. Because what I'm doing in that 80 minutes is I am making sure that throughout the time I'm overcoming their objections block by block, step by step as we go. So that by the time I've gotten done, I've already overcome all of their objections. So when I make a suggestion or a call to action at the end, they're already there. See, what most people do is they sell and then try to overcome objections. And I'm like, no! That's putting the negativity and the doubt at the end of your presentation. Why would you do that ever? Here, you want $1 million idea? Literally $1 million idea? Would that make this course worth your while? Well, here's what I did. I got brought in with a person who owned a consulting company. And this person was making a sales presentation. They said, look, we make the same sales presentation to these businesses every time we go in. And so we've really been able to figure out what works and what doesn't work, and we've gotten it as far as we can. We know you're the guy on influence and persuasion and on sales and marketing, so come in, sit down with us. You know, it's what I'm known for two things in my whole life. It's motivation and marketing. So I go, okay, sure. I go in, I watch this presentation, and here's what they were doing. Just like every other salesperson who's been taught by every person who never made millions of dollars selling does, which is they wait until the end of the presentation and say, you know, what are the questions you have about all this? And I just looked at him, I literally almost laughed because, you know, it was just like, oh, gosh, we really have to get to a whole other level of training for these people because that's they killed it. The presentation was amazing. And then they spend 30 minutes talking about doubts and concerns and worries, and they got to re-win them every single time. I go, no, we're going to end on a crescendo. That's what we're going to do in all of your marketing and sales. I'll get to this later. But it's $1 million distinction. Yeah, it's asking questions at the end. It's like, no. Let's address the questions at the beginning or in the middle, and then let's build to the crescendo so that it's an obvious choice at the end. The worst thing to do is build an obvious choice and then say, hey, so what holes would you like to shoot in this thing? That's how you get a sinking sales ship. It's like you build this beautiful, perfect case, and then you tell people, shoot holes in it. It's like, no. Let them shoot holes and concerns at the beginning. So this consulting company, one of the things I told them is, let's set the claim and talk about the challenge. So they set the claim, they talked about the challenge. And I said, then stop and say, what challenges have you all had here? What concerns do you have about what you already know about us or about the industry or about our product or program? And it changed the day for that business. Because what happens is now they're in the conversation. They made the claim, so people are excited. They talk about the challenges, so there's a commonality, there's a relation there. And then they stop, and they say, so, I mean, based on what you know already and what you've experienced, tell us, what are some of your challenges? But tell us, too, what are some concerns that you have about what you already know about us or our product or a program or a service, whatever it is for you? And let them blow questions and holes and let them bring their objections up now. And then keep overcoming those as you continue throughout the presentation when you talk about your credibility or the clear choice or the comparison pricing. Does that make sense? It's just such a simple thing. I wanted to bring it up at the end because this is where most people address it, but just like everything I've taught, all of messaging in sales doesn't happen just once. The ShamWow guy tells you 50 different times why this thing soaks up more water than anything else. He demonstrates it, he shows it, he tells it to you dozens of times. And I know it sounds so silly because you're like, Brennan, come on, ShamWow. I know, but it was one of the most effective infomercials ever. But at the end of the day, it's just fun to watch too. And so many sales presentations are fun to watch. But let's get back to the point here. And this point is, you have the ability to be a really smart salesperson in marketing just by doing what I'm suggesting. Don't take it as an idea, ooh, that's a really good insight, Brennan. Have their 10 objections in mind and pepper those throughout so that we can unlock the doors as we move throughout the maze of motivation here. But rather, also going that deeper level of inviting them to address their concerns. Now, if you're in a sales video, obviously you can't do that. So what should you do? Here's what I do. I create the sales video. I send it out to a bunch of the influential people in my life and I say, hey, would you watch this? I know, and I don't want them to know anything about it. I don't frame it. I don't do anything. I literally just say, would you do me a favor? Would you watch this video and then reply back and tell me any reasons you would not do what I'm suggesting at the end of the video? And that's it. That's called testing. Most people don't do that. Great salespeople, great marketing people do that. So I sent it out, and I don't frame it. This is where a lot of people ruin it. So many people are making excuses in advance where they'll say, well, just understand when I shot it, this was going on for me, or that would, no. It doesn't matter. Because most of the people who see your sales presentation, they might not know you. They might not have an experience with you. And I always assume no matter what, I always assume they don't anyway. Because guess what? Maybe they're watching my video, but so is their spouse. and they're sitting there together deciding whether to pay it. Or maybe I go into a situation which, a boardroom, I know 3 of the people, but 2 people showed up I didn't know were going to be there. So always create your sales presentation and your marketing as if people did not have a relationship with you, which I know runs counter to a lot of what people teach. But we're in a different era now. You know, it's very rare that people are making significant decisions on their own. And when they do make those decisions on their own, which is great, they still need the same things unlocked for them, even if they didn't know you. Because guess what? If your cousin's selling you on something, you're still listening to whether or not that thing's a good idea. You're not going to just buy it because it's your cousin. Matter of fact, you might not buy it because it's your cousin if you have a cousin like mine. So I'm just saying, hey, okay, last piece, visually call to action. The last C in our fancy framework here today is claim, challenge, commonality, credibility, choice, comparison pricing, concern addressing, and call to action. Oh, I am exhausted talking about this part for so many people because you would think it'd be obvious, but it's not. This is where I realized there is a real level of mastery in sales and marketing, that close, or the call to action as I call it, that final piece of directing people what to do or why to do something and why to do it now is so critical. That your final call to action should be a declarative, not a question. It should be a declarative, not a question. A lot of people, they build a great case for why people should do something, and then at the end, they step back on the stage, or the light goes out in their eyes on the video, or they seem apologetic over the phone, or at the end of the presentation they say, so, what do you think? And there isn't a directive, there isn't something powerful there isn't something that moves us. There's not a call to action. You know, it's like you watch Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. It wasn't like he was just saying, I have a dream, I have a dream. He was saying, go back to Alabama, right? Go back to the mountains. I mean, he was like, go back, do this. And it was like, woo, fire, fuel, a directive. That's what leaders do. And so your sales presentations should feel like that. Go back. You're like, whoo, bam. It's a crescendo at the end of your presentation that motivates and inspires people. And you know what most people are? They're terrified to do this. And it shows. In poker, it's called the tell. Right? They do something that reveals a worry or a concern or reveals an answer. And the tell in most people's sales and marketing presentation is at the end they back off. They apologize. I actually encourage everyone, that's the time not to get strong as in commanding or demanding that someone do something, but get boldly enthusiastic at the end and get directive at the end and be willing to tell people why something is magnificent for someone without apologizing for it. You know, it's really hard in my industry to stand on a stage in front of thousands of people and tell them to, in effect, go sign up for something that could cost thousands of dollars. It's easy to feel weird about that. And it took me a little while to realize that no, this call to action should feel like a crescendo. It should feel like a wonderful thing that they're going to do for themselves. And you want that to feel. You want it to feel like at the end of your presentation in a boardroom that this group of people, that they're enthusiastic, they're excited to do this deal with you. And that's my question. In your last boardroom presentation, did they seem excited? Now you might be like, well, dude, I don't do boardroom presentations. I'm staying at home. You know, I'm not working right now. I'm just, trying to support my family, and I'm just trying to get by. And I get that too. If that's where you're at, look, the last time you were with your child trying to persuade them to do something, all of these things count too, don't they? You got to make a claim with your child about education and learning. You better talk about the challenges they're focusing on. You better create a connection with them by talking about the commonality. You better talk about why what you're suggesting is a good choice for them, and you better compare it to other choices. You better address their concerns, but at the end, you want them to feel enthusiastic about learning and engaging or doing whatever it is you're saying. So my question is, at the end, how enthusiastic do people feel about doing what you're suggesting? That is the $1 million distinction. I'll often, when I'm brought in to work with a major organization, and they'll ask me to evaluate a major sales presentation, when I get the case, I work with the test subjects or the people who are in there with me evaluating the presentation, I'll pull them aside and I'll just ask them that simple question. I'll say, how enthusiastic are you to do this right now on a scale of 1 to 10? And if their ears aren't ringing at that 6 or 7 or above level, I know the sales presentation isn't there yet, or the salesperson hasn't gotten there yet. Does that make sense? That at the end, people should be enthusiastic to do what you suggest. They might be scared, but they should be enthusiastic. You follow? You can be both. I've been a lot of times in my life, I've been fearful of something, but enthusiastic. I've jumped off a bridge before, and I'll tell you, I was very, very, very scared, but I was enthusiastic about the experience. So yes, you can hold those two emotional experiences at the same time. But the goal is that they want to do this. They're excited about this. This is going to help them. How'd you do on that? In all of these areas, in your last sales video, your last sales page, your last marketing piece, your last conversation, the last time you tried to persuade everybody, did you have these concepts at play? These are just as important as our general persuasion concepts we talked about in our modules training video, about being honoring with someone and not hurrying, about framing for positive mutual benefit, about speaking to daily impact, about varying intrinsic and extrinsic rewards, about really painting a picture of the future benefits and making sure you have some implied consequences. All these start tying together. Now, I know you might say, well, Brendan, these are a lot of concepts to think through. Yeah, and sales and marketing should be that way. You should not, in my perspective, just stand up in front of a group of people and say, here's what I got. Buy it. Without having done your homework through these concepts and asking yourself and challenging yourself. It's what makes you a star performer, a high performer. It's what, if you watch, I've just got to work with a kind of a famous quarterback, and we were talking about something, and he was sharing how he and his team would watch reels of the other teams over and over and over again. And I said, yeah, I've heard about that. I totally get it. And so you're just watching to see how kind of people play. And he says, yes, but it's not just so we can play against them. It's so we can play better ourselves. I thought, that's really cool. That it's not just about playing against them. It's about playing better ourselves. And so much of what I'm talking about in High Performance Academy is about you playing better as a person at these things. And the way to play better at these things is to focus on them differently again, isn't it? It's about paying closer attention to what you're doing and really dialing it in. All of these concepts, maybe you've heard some of them. I hope you have. I mean, this is sales and marketing. But the distinction is about raising yourself in each of these areas and making sure that you're focusing on them once more. And all I have to tell you to do in some of these ways is focus on these again, and I've achieved my objective. Because too many people just don't even pay attention to these at all, or if they do, they're casual about it. See, I'm not casual about these things, I'm professional about them. And that's why I'm compensated differently. Does that make sense? I don't just look at them and think about them and practice them once in a while. I'm working hard to master them and get better at them. But because my radar is always on these things, I've become more effective at all of these things. Does that help? Okay, so now we're going to go in a different section. We're going to talk about implementation here and about how you might tie all this together in a specific sales situation. Obviously, all of these concepts will come into play in this next section. And again, so far what I've been trying very hard to do with you is share these at a conceptual, broad level. Because these are all concepts you need to be checking off the list somewhere, right? That's really important. And you'll see them come into play in what I'm about to suggest to you. And what I'm about to suggest to you in this outline really brings in everything we've talked about, from the module training of honoring other people and varying intrinsic and extrinsic rewards to these concepts I've shared with you now about claim and challenge and commonality, credibility, etc. So people are going to go, oh, God, another framework? Well, yeah, I'm just trying to put things on your radar. But I also want to give you this very specific, highly proven outline that I've literally generated millions of dollars with. And so I hope it will serve you as you're coming up with your next specific sales presentation. Everything I've talked about so far could be applied in lots of different contexts, right? And they could be moved around, and the order could be changed about them, but as long as we're ticking them off, we're doing a good job. In this one, this is a specific sequence that has worked for us over and over and over again. I'll share with you what that sequence is, and then I will give you some distinctions about what makes it work better for some people than others, and so that you'll know how to apply it in a specific way. And I know a lot of people wanted this kind of approach here. So here's what we're going to do. As I share all this with you, I want to keep a couple things in mind. Well, I'm just going to share the outline with you, and then I'll cover these. I'm going to change it up right now. So I'm just going to share the outline with you, and then we'll talk about the distinctions that make this outline come alive. I figure by doing that, you have to stay on this line forever with me. Forever. Okay. So number one, this is literally the outline. Don't break this order. Try this order next time you have to sell something. Where and this now, I'm talking about a specific sales presentation in which you're trying to get someone to give you money at the end. Okay? That's what this is about. A sales presentation in which you're trying to get someone to give you money. Whether they're going to put their credit card on an online form, or they're going to sign a contract in front of you, or whether they're going to jump up from the tables and run back and sign up for something. Whatever it is, this is that type of salesperson. It's very specific. Everything else is really about persuading and influencing at a broader sales and marketing and persuasion or influence situation. This is very specific to just a sell. So here's how you start. The first thing you're going to cover is the opportunity. The opportunity. Now, to use language that we've used before, the opportunity can be your claim, but the opportunity, when we're structuring this sales presentation, we want to start with a broad opportunity about what it is that you have and why it's a unique opportunity at this point in time. Okay? An opportunity, and I'll use my example again of Experts Academy. I'm not doing it to be self-serving. I'm doing it because many of you know that brand already and you're familiar with the messaging, so you can kind of see where that messaging comes from. So an opportunity might be, right now, unlike any other time in our history, we have all these folks who have all this knowledge and wisdom and advice to share for others, but they're being lost or forgotten. They're part of a generation that is not going to express themselves, or they're unemployed, or they're looking for something more meaningful than a 9-to-5 in which they just give their value to someone else. And right now, they have the opportunity to actually share their knowledge and wisdom and advice online. They have the ability to monetize it and become entrepreneurial experts who get paid for sharing what they know with other people. And there's all these different ways they can be paid. They can be paid as an author or a speaker or a coach or a seminar leader or an online marketer. But the opportunity right now to do it quickly and easily is unlike we've seen ever before, because right now people actually can do this online and set it up quick now, because you don't have to spend $20,000 for websites anymore. Matter of fact, you don't even have to know HTML. If you can just fill in a form and upload a video and select a button and put in a price and click publish, you can have a business. We never had that opportunity before. So I'm literally chatting with you right now, meaning I'm coming up with this on the fly because I want you to feel it in the moment. But it begins with an opportunity. So what's the opportunity that you're offering right now? And the opportunity, by the way, is not, let me say this again, it is not your product or program failure. Notice I didn't even mention the Experts Academy course yet. I mentioned the opportunity. So we want to start at a broad level opportunity of what's possible right now, exciting right now, what is unique right now, and something that can obviously benefit them, right? Then we're going to jump right into results. Kind of a shock and awe strategy. So I'm going to paint that picture of opportunity, and then I'm going to get right into the results, right off the bat. So I'm going to say, look, I don't know if you're aware of these types of things, but there are people who are making millions of dollars doing this. And I'll tell you my story in a little bit, but, and this is where I'll do what we call expert story positioning in the expert industry, where I'll share my struggle and my successes at once. So the result is my struggle and success, my surprising success, right? The shock and awe part. It's like, did you know that I went through this, and then now I've been able to build $5 million plus brands in 5 years? That was never possible before, ever. Because it took too much money and investment and all these other things to build a big business. You had to have a huge team. Today, I did it with literally just a couple people, and when I began, I had no people. And I made $4.6 million in my first 24 months doing this with no team. And people are like, what are you talking about? So you can talk about results right after the opportunity if you do it with the juxtaposition of your story and your struggle. Right? So I want to share this idea with you because I know we got a lot of people who sell a product or something that maybe you're saying, well, wait a second, but I've got a $100 product or I've got a $50 product here. Do I really have to do all of this? If you are in a live sales presentation or you're doing a sales video, absolutely. What's the opportunity? What's the unique struggle and result that you have gotten or that your product has created for other people? Because people really, it's that result right off the bat, it surprises them. They're like, whoa. And it also validates this idea of an opportunity. Then third, we're going to talk about the benefits of people getting involved in this opportunity. The benefits of their personal lifestyle. What we talked about before. What's the daily impact that they're going to experience by being involved in this opportunity? So I'll talk about, it's not even about the benefits of the specific course yet. We'll get to that. We're going to talk about the benefits of the overall involvement. So I'll talk, for example, for me, I'll talk about the benefits of being an entrepreneurial expert. You can work from home. You can work anytime that you want. You don't need all these big crazy things to set up. You need a laptop and an internet connection and a phone. You have the ability to share a meaningful message with people that actually improves the quality of their life. You get to feel good about sharing what you know. You get to mentor others and get paid for it. You get to have economic abundance unlike any other industry when you do this well. And I talk about all that. Then the fourth thing, so opportunity, results, benefits. I know I'm going over on this call, so I'll get a little faster. I apologize. The fourth thing is proof. What proof do you have? And often proof can be your proof of something that you have, me with New York Times bestsellers, or me getting on stages with these big people, or me with photos with these folks. Or they can be also your students. Your students as testimonials, your students' stories. Proof doesn't have to be a screenshot or a photo. It can be a story. It can be a story of how you took Sally from here to there, right? And so that they can see that you've experienced it and other people have experienced it. They start to say, well, I can experience it too. And now we go into your solution, the features and benefits of your solution. So we've painted a broad frame, haven't we? We've talked about the overall opportunity. We've talked about results. We've talked about benefits. We've talked about proof. Now we're into the solution and describing the overall benefits of that solution. So this is where I'll start talking about the Experts Academy program, the training course, and all of the things they'll learn in it. I'll talk about the module for authors, and then I'll talk about everything they'll learn in that module and all the benefits it will give them. Then I'll move into the module about speakers, and I'll talk about all the things they'll learn and all of the benefits. Now, I know when I get here, this always happens when I'm at this point of this outline, people go, well, but I don't know how this exactly applies to me for my product or program. I don't know exactly, how this all fits together. I mean, I'm not sure what the opportunity is. I'm not sure what this is. And guess what? Yes, Clarity is not something you have. It's something you're going to create and generate and brainstorm through. I want you to struggle through this. I know that doesn't make me a popular person. They're like, well, Brennan, just give me the easy answer. I go, no. When you're trying to create a sales or marketing presentation, it should be a struggle. This should make smoke come out of your ears. Obviously, I'm being, a little wild and wacky today. But I want to take the edge off of the sales and marketing stuff a little bit of people thinking this is supposed to be so easy. And if it's supposed to be easy, then that just shows you've been probably in my industry for too long, where everything is supposed to be quick and easy and get rich quick and overnight and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, you know what? This is great stuff to fight through and figure out. You don't know the opportunity of your program until you sit down and you think about it. You start brainstorming it. You start writing it out, working it again, figuring it out, trying to struggle through, asking people about it, and then hitting it. And this is like that, this outline. I stop about halfway through here to share this every time because I know how easy it is to get distracted here and get upset here and want an easier solution here. I go, no, please think through this. This has generated millions of dollars for people. And if, will it generate that for you? I have no idea, and I certainly can't ever guarantee results. I don't know your background or your story, your finances, or your approach, or what you look like or sound like, or relationships you have, or products you've got. I don't know any of that, but here's what I do know. That all of this is an outline, is whether or not you ever follow any of my outlines, to focus on these things and think through these things and struggle through, that's what's going to make you more successful. So, the solution, the features, the benefits, to think through that really intelligently. And look, anybody who knows this outline or has heard these concepts before, yeah, I got it. I go, no. Stop yourself and really rate yourself. I mean, if you had 40 different customers look at your sales presentation, are they clear on the features and benefits, or are you clear? Big difference, isn't it? So we'll go from opportunity to the results and the benefits and the proof, then the features and benefits, then we move right into price juxtaposition. And as you heard me share earlier about comparison pricing, we're going to talk about how we're going to build into our price point. We're not just going to say, it's 1997. We'll have talked about other big price points before, and then we'll remind them of them. So, for example, when I'm talking about the features and benefits of Experts Academy, I'll talk about how they get these things that have generated me tens of thousands of dollars. And then when I get to price juxtaposition, I'll not only reference those again, I'll say, remember, you're getting all these tools and these resources that have generated tens of thousands and millions of dollars for me. But also, you know what? Look, I spent 16 years figuring this out. And your learning curve can continue to be 16 years long, or you can cut it in half and more right now by you enrolling in this course. We can completely cut down 16 years of time, effort, and money wasted for you. But we can also, look, I know this is important to you, and I'm sharing with you that this is the best stuff out there. Matter of fact, I don't know if you know it, but I earn $50,000 every time I go to evaluate someone's work. I have generated X number of dollars doing this and gotten X number of clients doing that. And I don't know if you know this, but corporations pay me this. And I don't know if you know this, but usually when someone hires me for this, I get paid that. Well, you're going to get all that experience, and you're going to cut your learning curve to almost nil by signing up for this today. And it's only this whole program, with all of that in there, with everything that I've learned, you can enroll in this just for $697 in 3 payments, or whatever it is for you. So, price juxtaposition happens now. You've been building towards it, and now you talk about it. And again, you're referencing higher price things, or the price of learning curve, or how much you're usually paid for what you're doing, or how much the value of what you usually offer is, and then you reveal your price. Once you reveal your price, then you immediately go into bonuses, sharing what else do they get. Because when they hear that price, they should go, what a great deal. I mean, remember, it could be high price to them. Not saying it's not expensive, but once you offer price juxtaposition and you announce the price, you're going to move right into bonuses. Are there things where they go, wow, they say, well, that price, that's a good deal. And then they say, whoa, and I get this stuff too? It's what they do on infomercials all the time. It's like, right? It's like, you get the Sam Wow, and you get these kitchen tongs. Or whatever else they sell. They throw in some bonuses that might relate to it, and those bonuses are often equal or more value than the thing they're selling itself. So, for example, I'm offering a $2,000 program with Experts Academy, and then I throw in a bonus right off the bat that's worth $5,000. By the way, you saw me do this with High Performance Academy, didn't I? I was like, hey, look, this course, only $997, and then you get these two $5,000 courses on the back end. And it's like, whoa, those bonuses are worth more than the value of the course? I'd be crazy not to sign up for this. And you should do that for your products and programs. And people always say, well, Brendan, I don't have any bonuses. And I go, guess what your job is? Create some bonuses. Yes, I know you might not have any bonuses. And they say, well, Brendan, you're just creating more work for me. No, I'm creating more sales for you. Everything you sell should come with a bonus, in my perspective, because it's all part of price juxtaposition. It's like, oh my gosh, that's a decent deal. And then I get these things too, and it pushes people over the edge of value. And it is offering more value than you're selling, which I think should be a component of what we do. You know, I'm all about under-promising and over-delivering. And so when you offer a bonus that they did not expect, that's just it's powerful. Okay, I know I got to move on. Okay, so then the guarantee. So you offer the price, you give some bonuses, or a bonus, and then you give the guarantee on this product or program or service that you have. Guarantees should be fairly straightforward, right? You say if you don't like it, in 30 days, return it, or whatever your conditions are. Everyone should have a satisfaction guarantee in my mind, and everyone should give at least 30 days. There's lots of results and data from sales of lots of different industries that giving 60 days or 90 days is good too. Some people give a lifelong guarantee. Some people give all sorts of different guarantees of results. Whatever the guarantee is, it should at least have a satisfaction guarantee component to it. Then we move from the guarantee right into the urgency and the call to action, which is why should they order now? Now, this can be lots of different things. The urgency can be order right now because if, we only have 100 copies. Or it can be order right now because sale closes on Wednesday. Or it can be, hey guys, we need you to sign up for this contract or this agreement with us because we book out very far in advance. So if you don't sign up today, then I'm afraid we're just not going to be able to do this. Or it might be, we need you to sign up by next week because of X reason. There needs to be a reason of why they need to sign up now. And that urgency should be real, not manufactured. A lot of people say, well, I only have 10 copies. No, you have a warehouse of 1,000. Why are you saying 10? Be honest always in all of what you do. And then finally, what I like to do is at the end, I like to throw in a surprise bonus, or a surprise gift for the first X number of people who sign up, or some extra surprise thing they didn't even know and just totally push them over the edge, whatever it is for you. So, opportunity. So the outline is this. Opportunity, results, benefits, proof, the solution and features and benefits of it, price juxtaposition, bonuses, guarantee, urgency, and then the surprise bonus. That's my favorite way to do a sales presentation in any given genre or industry. I hope that it serves you and you put it into play. A couple things I'd like to share with you in all of this. I know we've gone through a lot here, but look, I'm trying to teach you multi-million-dollar insights, and I know these are big picture concepts, but they just work. And you get better at them the more you do, and the more you rate yourself. I rate myself in all these areas. I'm like, ugh, you know what? In that section, was that persuasive? It's a 5 out of 10. I got to change that section to be a 10 out of 10. So that's what the difference is going to be made for you. Is now you have the sections, now you're going to make them each really, really strong. So, 4 big distinctions here. 4 big distinctions that might make all this come together for you. First and foremost, don't forget that all persuasion happens in a psychological context. And that all the things you learned in Module 1 apply significantly here. about what makes people engaged or happy. Remember when we talked about novelty, challenge, creative expression, connection? That these are all points we can hit throughout this. That we can, throughout our presentation, talk about why this is new and talk about why, this is something that will help them be more creative or contribute more. How this can help them connect more with other people. All the concepts in psychology we talked about, I hope you go back and revisit that, because those are all, quote-unquote, triggers that you can also hit throughout your sales presentation. So I say that here because I want you to realize all of this, it's all about human psychology. And remember, one of the biggest, most important things about human psychology is, as much as you can lay all of this out, and it can be perfectly worded and perfectly messaged and make logical sense, don't forget that buying behavior and change behavior often is driven by emotion. And that your emotions and the emotions you are stirring throughout this are everything to do with persuasion. The emotional energy you bring to a situation and the emotional energy you generate from that situation are everything. Everything. So really ask for that. Really ask for that. I want you to really realize that. Does it make sense? I want you to realize that if your emotional energy you're bringing into something and the emotional energy you're generating in a situation, that leads to success. I can tell you, I've seen people use this model to a level that was just absolutely analytically genius. The words on the page were genius. I saw a sales script for this one time. It was genius. But when the person did it in person, I didn't feel any emotional energy from them. And they didn't stir even the words, when I read them, they stirred the energy in me. But when they said them, they didn't. And so here's something to write down that is the $1 million distinction in all this. Your energy you need to bring to any persuasion situation, especially when it's related to someone taking a significant challenge on, or to pay a significant amount of money for, or to make a new change in their behavior. You need to bring to that bold enthusiasm. That there's an emotional residue that comes when you are bold and when you are energized and excited about the future, enthusiasm. That those things have to resonate throughout this. I just watched a really well done video that could have literally generated hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it didn't do that well. And the person couldn't figure it out. They did everything right, and they did. They did everything right, except generate the right level of emotional energy. So, a couple ways to do that. One, speak as a leader. Leaders speak with bold enthusiasm. We want we don't, in the sales presentation, don't come across too casual or checked out. Be bold. Be enthusiastic, be engaged, be excited, and your excitement will sell. Enthusiasm sells. Don't forget that. But be a leader too. Realize a leader understands they are in a situation of influence. That they have the ability to consciously direct other people's intentions, energies, and activities towards meaningful experiences and objectives. We'll talk a lot about that in our next module so that you get even better at all of this. But I want you to imagine that speak as a leader. Don't speak apologetically. Stand strong. Be excited for what you got. Don't have to be super courageous or confident or over the top. But be engaged, for Pete's sake. Be excited. You're trying to get someone to make a change, to make a contribution, to give you money. You better be fired up. Second, keep your rhythm. A lot of sales presentations fall flat at the end. As I said, people apologize for them. But your rhythm should be continually engaged. And your rhythm should feel like, the start of the presentation, the middle of the presentation, the end of the presentation, there can be lots of these ups and downs, and you can take people on an emotional roller coaster of intrinsic and extrinsic rewards and motivations, as we talked about in the video. But throughout that, what we want is there's a pacing, there's a rhythm, that this thing feels like it's moving forward, that it's moving towards a crescendo, that we're building here. And a lot of sales presentations fail because it doesn't feel like they're building. And we want yours to feel like it's building. Not too fast, not too slow. As we said in the video, don't hurry, but be building towards something. Make it feel like there's something magical coming towards the end. And one of the ways to do that is in your last several minutes of a presentation. Depending on how long the presentation has been, we want you to elevate your tone in those last few minutes. Whether it's last 5 minutes or last 2 minutes, we want you to start crescendoing, that people feel that we're building and that this thing's coming to a conclusion. Maybe the train is coming to a stop. It's here. And so we want that to feel from you. In your last presentation, did you speak as a leader? Did you keep a good rhythm? Did you elevate your tone? And did you wrap it with bold enthusiasm? And realizing that it's the emotional energy you are bringing and generating from others that will ultimately make all of these outlines come to life. I hope that helps in thinking through all of this. I do know it's a lot to consider, but isn't it worth it? Isn't it worth having a checklist like this a little bit to think through that you're more diligent and practiced and thoughtful in creating your sales presentations? And again, I know I've been using your sales situation, your sales presentation, your marketing, all of this very generically and broad because we have so many thousands of people listening to this now or later on, and we're all from different backgrounds and different walks of life. So this is challenging for me to bring all this together for you. But the reason I brought it together in this way is so that you saw a diversity of things to think about. And as you think about new things and practice new things, you just get better. So I hope that helps you in thinking through all of these things. And I know there's a lot there, so this is a call you're going to want to listen to over and over and over again. Take your notes, work through the outlines, create your presentations. Know that none of what you're doing has to follow any specific outline at all, but it should be able to check off all of these things that we talked about today. You should be able to say, here's my sales presentation or my persuasion situation where I'm creating commonality with these folks. Gosh, here's where I'm addressing the challenges they're facing. Oh gosh, you know what? I'm doing a good job of addressing their concerns too. Oh good, I'm being explicit about my features and benefits, and I'm doing this price juxtaposition thing, and oh good, I'm doing whatever it is, however it fits together, because your situation and context of selling or persuading might be different than anyone else's. But know that these concepts, these are the needle movers. Everything else seems to be, to me, just noise or further delineation of the very things I talked about. And if I was never able to go through another persuasion training in my life, and all I had was this High Performance Academy Master's course, all the videos and this coaching call, I would go over this dozens and dozens of times, because somewhere in here you will unlock the very secret that has prevented you from having the level of success that you deserve in persuading and influencing other people. And I'll end with this before we open up to some questions, is understand that our next module is going to amplify this to a whole other level. Because in the first video of the next module, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you about purpose. I know that sounds crazy. It's like, oh, right, you're going to teach me about life's purpose. But I'm going to do it in a way that will surprise you. And then I'm going to tie it to leadership. And you're going to understand a whole different way of really connecting with and influencing people at a whole other level. And then in our coaching call, I'm going to bring it all together by helping you understand how to persuade and lead at a movement level. So that when you're generating and creating and inciting movements, that all of what we've talked about is really coming together. And I was originally going to talk on some movements on this call here, but I know that it will wrap together better after we discuss purpose, because part of your life's purpose might be to start a movement. And if that's true, I want to talk through leadership and movements and end our next coaching call with that conversation. I think you're going to find it to be a very magical experience. For now, I hope this wasn't too tactical for some of you. I know we couldn't go way into detail more than we did in the videos in this coaching call. Gosh knows there's enough to to think about here. But I do know this. You have the ability to influence other people in tremendous ways. You have the ability to build your business based off what you just found out. You have the ability to be a more effective salesperson to your teams, to your leaders, to your customers, to the world. You have the ability to take what you've learned and implement it. And I hope that as much of this is, insightful as it gives you a great outline or shares with you how I think about multi-million-dollar sales presentations as well as sales presentations for $50 things, that at the end of it, you'll do the work of coming back to this the next time you have to sell or persuade. Because I really believe that a lot of the magic in persuasion comes in the preparation. That, if you wander in situations and you're just totally present, that's good. But if you've prepared and practiced too, and then you wander in with presence, then you're dangerous. Then you're world class. Then you are a high performer. I hope that serves you. I look forward to taking some questions now. And in the meantime, please remember again, you may or may not get in these next 20 minutes that we have to ask your question. I understand that. I went long again today, but that is why we opened up and have conducted this course the way we are. So if you're listening to this recording later on, the reason it's a recording is because you have the ability to ask me questions in the forum earlier than we were going to open it. And all of you listening to me have the ability to ask the questions. So beneath any of the videos or any of the audios, ask me your question, and I get in there at least once a week, and I'm in there replying to you individually and personally. And so I've committed to this group to do that because I know the difference. I wish when I was going through, my buddy Tony Robbins' programs, I wish I could ask him questions that I was going through. But in this industry, people didn't used to do that. And now I'm happy to do that for you. And I really enjoy the process. So if we don't get to your question today, realize you can ask the question in the online members area anytime. I'm in there usually at least once a week and replying as much as I can. So I'm excited to hear your questions now. With that, Colin or our operator online, if you could come in and instruct folks on how to ask a question, we'll rock and roll with questions for about 20 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to register for a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad. You will hear a 3-tone prompt to acknowledge your request. At that time, your line will be briefly accessed from the conference to obtain information. If you are using a speakerphone, please lift the handset before entering your request. Also, if your question has been answered and you would like to withdraw your registration, please press the 1 followed by the 3 on your telephone keypad. Our first question comes from the line of Ash from Ontario.
Hey, Brendan, are you there?
I hear you, my friend.
Brendan, I want to congratulate you and honor you. You have got just incredible energy, and my honor comes from the fact that you do it without coffee.
Thanks, man. No, could you imagine how annoying I'd be on coffee or alcohol? My lord. What's your question today, my friend?
Well, the question is, you persuaded me to take your program before you even made the offer. So, and you kind of answered a few things you did by interweaving my, concerns and objections throughout when I watched the videos and that sort of thing. But is that, I wanted to maybe get more about that model, about your persona was so huge that I knew I wanted to cross paths with you. And my time was right now, and so just in saying that and having the credibility of reaching it, so if you can touch on some points with what you did to make your persona so big that I wanted to interact with that. And then my question is actually as well, being in sales on a daily basis, when do you say no? When do you qualify a prospect and choose not to persuade them and waste your time? Because in a huge audience like that, I know you drip a filter and whoever wants to be persuaded makes the buying decision. But when you're selling one-on-one or one-on-a-few, when do you quickly qualify and how do you do it to say, hey, this is not worthwhile, let me just move on?
Oh, that's such a good question. Really great question. So first, thank you for the compliment in there as well. And in terms of the persona stuff, it's funny, if you haven't watched some Experts Academy videos, to me, my entire approach in that is just, I'm going to bring so much bold enthusiasm and just teach my face off and do it with a lot of enthusiasm, but try and find just the needle-moving things that when people interact with my brand, they're getting value right away. And that getting value right away, it's very rarely me sitting there bragging about who I am or what I do. I share my results, but if you watch any of my videos, easily 70% of them is just straight teaching or training or value. And that's important to me. It's always teaching and getting people into framework and moving them through things. And that's what incites them and excites them more than just me. I mean, if the persona of what I am, I think a lot of what I hope I bring to the world for me is what we talked about in Module 1 of High Performance Academy here. For me, it's really, to me, just being really present and being really bold and being really enthusiastic. That's who I feel I am and what I'm supposed to do. So I try to bring that. But it's moving the value needle quickly for people. It's about giving a framework and getting them into content right away or into ideas right away that they feel like they're advancing. And that's really important to me. So I think that's, if anything, about the persona, it's really that. It's about the value and then the energy. And because you know what? If I had all this energy but there was no value behind it, that would be an interesting person, but there would be no brand. And then the second question, this is really important. I hope people heard you ask this. Is, you know, on a daily basis when you're selling, how do you qualify? In terms of selling, to me, the qualification happens in the first two pieces when we talked about earlier claim and challenge, which is if I make a claim to someone, and then I say that people have had challenges like this, and I ask them, have you ever had any of these challenges? And they're like, no. Obviously, that is no longer prospect. They're not interested, because the challenge is framing what you got, right? So if they're not interested in the claim, or they haven't had similar challenges to the people you're trying to help, immediately that's not a prospect anymore. Second, you ask them, when you get in the challenges, you can ask them, it's like, have you ever really decided to get over this, and are you willing to commit to figuring this out? And I'm speaking broadly here because we know we have so many different genres of people listening. But it's being willing, able to, when people talk about how do I qualify someone, I always say qualification is all in the questions. And so great salespeople, when they're qualifying people, they're just asking questions up front to see if this is going to be relevant, important, or wanted by the other person. I'll say that again. Relevant, as in does it really apply to their life or not, or their situation. Important, as in it will help them significantly. And something that they want. Something in terms of the timing in their life or the needs in their life that would align. So that's what I'm usually listening to from a prospect, is like, is this going to be relevant to them? Is it going to be important to them? And is it going to be something they want? If not, I'm out, and that's the end of that quote-unquote sales prospecting call or approach. Cool. I hope that helps, Sam. And operator, next caller, next question.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Frank from New York, New York. Your line is open. Please proceed with your question.
Brandon, thanks so much for taking the call. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for being here, Frank. I appreciate hearing your voice and sticking through that long tirade of conversation today.
No problem. So I'm really enjoying the program for many reasons, and I'm especially enjoying the conflict edition of the Persuasion video. And I'm trying to apply it to my current, let's call it dilemma. I have a couple of kids and a wife, and she decided maybe she doesn't want to be part of this situation anymore. So I guess, yeah, it's pretty bad. Is there, and again, I'm diligently watching and trying to help see if it could apply at all, but do you have any added advice? It's sort of the negotiation part seems to be going well. Just, had to ask you about it, so I thought I'd ask.
Well, man, I'm really sorry that situation is happening. I know how hard that can be. Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to give general advice on that without knowing the specifics. But I can share this in lots of conflict situations, especially in relationships. And it's something someone shared to me one time. It was really profound. And I was going through a really tough time with someone, and I just could not figure out how to even connect with them anymore. it was just like, it was so frustrating because we're trying to work through something, but there was a lot of anger there, or there was a lot of hurt there, and we were just on different, it seems like we were literally on different planets, right? Men are from Mars and women are from Venus at that point, for me. And what this person said to me is, it said, Brendan, next time you speak to this person, make sure that she feels you feeling her. I said, what? They said, a part of the challenge is that when you're in conflict, the other person doesn't sense and feel that you feel them. That there's a wall up between the two of you. And so it's the time in conflict to get even, and it sounds really hard to say to someone in a relationship conflict especially, that it's time to be more present and more emotionally available and open and connected with someone else, because that's the very time you want to cut it off and tell them to take a walk, or you don't want to be vulnerable anymore because you've been hurt already. And yet that's where a lot of the courage and the heart come from in a conflict situation, is even though it's vulnerable or it's uncomfortable or you want to slay this person, that you still recognize the humanity and make sure they feel you and sense you. And as weird as that sounds, maybe esoteric, that ends up usually in mediations, and I've been through a lot of divorce mediation training as well, that helping them sense each other and feel each other again, when we unlock that, then the conflict, the content stuff of what they're fighting about usually unlocks too. And boy, I get it. I don't know if that is helpful advice for your situation.
Yeah, it's helpful, and I see that in the videos, and I'm trying to apply it, and it's actually it seems to be helping. But yeah, I appreciate it, and I'll keep up the esoteric approach as you're describing.
Yeah, and hey, one of the things too, as we said in that conflict model, is when you're beginning the next conversation, to frame it in terms of the good, of the benefit of the relationship.
Yep.
And that's really where it's important. And what you just said to me, I would literally say to this other person, I would say, hey, you know what, I'm trying to figure out a better way to work through this and make sure it benefits, our relationship going forward, no matter what it looks like, and to try and connect with you. And I know I haven't done the best job at that yet. I just want you to know I'm really trying, and I'm willing to do what it takes, and I hope that you sense and feel that I am trying, because I do care about the future of this relationship no matter where it goes. That shocks people. They're like, what? Because sometimes we just have to demonstrate and tell people that we have huge and positive intentions there, and also acknowledge that maybe we haven't done the best in the past. And the truth is, most of the time, and I'm guessing, you being in this program and having the guts to ask this question here, most of the time, it's us, and I say us as all of us on the phone here, and who is listening now, it's us, because we are the learners and the appliers, and we're willing to stretch ourselves and we earn a mastery. Oftentimes, we've actually been in the right, or we've been doing and saying the right thing, and the other person hasn't. And that's when we still have to acknowledge the relationship's important. I'm struggling through and trying my best, and my intentions are good. Because oftentimes, they'll feel like they've been the problem, or they'll feel like that they're not doing as good, and they kind of secretly hate us for it. And when they hear that we're struggling through too, and that we're still vulnerable and we're still open about it, it opens them too.
Excellent. Okay.
So I hope that
Thank you
helps.
so much. I'll keep trying and stay positive. I will.
Do that, and keep us posted too. Drop me any notes anytime you need to off list if you need to as well.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Frank. We'll do one more, Colin.
Our final question comes from the line of Sherry from Vancouver, British Columbia. Please proceed.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi, Brent. Hi. I just want to say this course is timely, and it's actually the best program I've ever taken. I've taken some talks.
Wow.
So thank you for what you bring to this, as it really is a whole new level.
Thank you. It's such an honor.
I am a professional organizer and productivity consultant, and I have been in the service-based business for 11 years, and for the last year I've been switching to this whole online business. And it's been a struggle because I've been trying to figure it all out, but I can see from today's call all the missing pieces. So I'm going to work through this, and I appreciate how you said struggle through this because it's perceived out there that it literally is an overnight success.
Right.
As I'm looking at, setting myself apart and possibly I want to be the global resource where people, like business owners, can come and find an organizer or find a solution to getting organized, dealing with some productivity and time management issues. So I'm trying to bring the organizers and connecting them to the end user. And I'm also supplying products and programs to the end user. Maybe I'm trying to be too much, and that's why I can't quite figure out, what is my claim to fame? What is my main focus? And I just wondered if you could brainstorm a couple of minutes on a few ideas.
Sure, I'm happy to. And, part of it, and I'll sort of frame this into what we've been talking about, which is you're trying to persuade an entire industry and customer segment to come to you, right? That's a big effort. And just so you know, you're going to love the Business Accelerator crash course we put on the end of this course. It will really help with that. But to your main question of, where am I in terms of positioning and bringing people to us, I would usually in that situation say, make sure that you start as you being the resource to the customer base first.
Okay, well, that's sort of what I'm doing, okay.
Yeah, and I would really hone that, and I would make that my emphasis. Because nothing will attract these other organizers and other organizations to being a part of what you're doing than a customer base.
Okay.
Have you ever heard that P.T. Barnum used to say, nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you got a crowd of buyers, even if it's just hundreds of buyers, and then when it's thousands of buyers at whatever price point, when you can go to someone and say, look, I've been doing this for a while and I'm recognized as a global leader in this place because I've got global clients out there and hundreds or thousands of customers, and we've been really serving them. But you know what? I know they want more resources. And I thought, I'm so blessed to have these thousands of customers sitting here. I bet they'd like to hear about what you got. Would you be interested in interacting with me and this community in a way in which we offer your products or your programs or your resources, or we plug your community into my community and we make it amplified even bigger, and we become sort of leaders in this space together. Okay. And what you're doing is when you're connecting your community to other people's community, that's so persuasive. I just had someone yesterday protest that they wanted to connect me with a huge community they've already built, and apparently they've been trying to get a hold of me to do something for like 5 years. And we just kept saying, it's not your time. It's like, just go building, and then they built it. And they're ready. And now it's totally persuasive because it's real, and it's there. And now it's about plugging into that. And when you do that, that works. If you don't want to go that route, the secondary option is to essentially form a mastermind with all these other leaders and get them together talking about their businesses, talking about this industry, talking about what they're doing, and then while you're there, suggest this idea, say, hey, we're all in the same industry, we're all here, why don't we create a global resource for all these people? And that was what I did with Expert Industry Association. I said, we've got all of these amazing leaders in this field, but they're not connected, and there's not a resource for our people to go to where they can get some free training or free resources or free recommendations, whatever. And so that was where that idea came from. I just got them all in a room, and it wasn't about me, it was about them. I said, well, let's get together, and we'll all share our best insights in this area. And then when we were all together, and as everyone connected and created real relationships, then steering them was super easy. It was just a suggestion. And either hands went up or they didn't.
Right.
But that way they're coming together in a value relationship to share valuable ideas. And then from there it's pretty straightforward to get them to act in one way or another.
Okay, I had thought of the mastermind. One other quick question is, how do I connect being disorganized to making a business profitable? Like, I understand people want to get organized, but there's a point where you're too organized, and then there's, and you've touched a little bit about on this, and, organization is about, getting things done quicker and faster and really getting on with life. At least that's my belief. And I also believe that there's no cookie-cutter way to get organized. So I point people in a direction, give them 3 options, and they say, take this and customize it. That's my approach.
That's cool. And I'll answer your question because I have to end the call here for our operator. But and thank you, great question. And that's the difference of teaching people, and I like how you asked that. And don't make it a question anymore, make it a claim. The question is, well, how do I, how do I tie productivity to, profitability? Is just make it a claim now and go out and figure that out. Say, okay, I've got to figure, what I'm offering is how to tie this organization and productivity stuff to profitability. How do I do that? Well, traditionally in that industry, it's all been about not just figuring out how to be organized, but how to prioritize in a way in which they're doing the right things, and they're doing the right things well. It's not just about getting things done, it's about getting the right things done extremely well and making sure that those are the needle-moving things advancing. And so it's about teaching, if you're going to teach profitability and productivity, the way that I would do it is I would teach profitability. I would go, here's the way to increase profit in whatever that you're doing. And if that's true, then you've got to be able to produce towards that. Now let's work with the end in mind and back up into that. And so you've got to teach just as much about profitability as about productivity if you're really going to tie the two concepts together. Because too many people try to create what I call a loose association. It's like, oh, I've got this thing here and that thing there, but they don't tie them together. And I say, no, go explicit there. If you're going to say productivity and profitability, teach me about both and show me how they connect. I think the main way in which you show people how to connect is say, look, here's the different ways you can become more profitable at whatever you're doing. More customers, more leads, more conversions, etc. Well, let's aim your daily activities towards accomplishing that and help them think through the prioritization of their business or their life to be able to accomplish that. I think it's just tying the concepts together better, and that will do it. But at the end of the day, make sure it's all about helping them identify what are the needle-moving things they should be doing, then how to organize around those versus just here's how to be more organized. And, I often joke and tease about the lifestyle design industry about, people, they're working so hard to organize and get the new cool tools and apps and everything to make their lives more efficient, but they are not paying attention on where they're going. And so when you teach them to have a life as well, not just how to organize life, or in your case, how to have a business that's profitable, not just how to organize their daily activities, then we're actually moving into a greater level of value. So I thank you for that. Great question. I'm going to end with this, everybody. I hope that you'll listen to this module in the last couple a few times over and over because the gold will keep coming out. One of the reasons I'm here today, I want to give honor to Tony Robbins I listened to his program, I think it was Personal Power 2. I probably listened to that CD, 100, there were CDs, I should say, there's like 30 of them. I think I probably listened to that 100 times in my life. The conflict and the persuasion and the stuff that I've studied, I probably listened to and watched and read tens, dozens, hundreds of times. I probably listened to Martin Luther King's speech and read his books 2 or 3 times. It's about digging back in once you've gone through it and you have the insight. Now you go back and you look for what are the actionable things that I'm going to practice on a daily basis. What are the actionable things I'm going to prepare for next time I'm in this situation? That type of mastery in your learning is about what also generates the mastery in your life. So master this stuff. Go back, study, look, listen. The good news is, I know there's already been lots, and you're like, gosh, you're telling me to dedicate more time to this? Well, the good news is, your online members area is here for you for life. So you can come back to this any time that you want. Yes, I've dedicated to maintaining this forum and this site here for life. It will be up there. You can go back and watch this training anytime that you want. And so in doing that, what I want you to do is make sure that you go back through one more time, at least one more time through the trainings, and really dig in. With that, next week, our module is going to blow your mind because it's about the purpose of your life. And by no means am I going to tell you what your purpose is, but I might reveal a few hints that we've been given and a few ways in which you can direct more purpose into your life so that you feel more alive, and in the process, you also become more clear and energized and productive and influential. We'll take on leadership and movements, and we'll apply those to your career so you can understand how to accomplish more, achieve more, and make more money, yes, too, by aiming your efforts not to just selling or persuading in small situations, but doing it at mass levels so you have mass levels of global influence, customers, communities, followers. And I think you're going to be really influenced by this next module. So watch that first set of videos in the next module and make sure you make that coaching call, because that coaching call will also be our coaching call on purpose, leadership, and movement, and our last coaching call in the core High Performance Academy Master's course. Can you believe we're almost at graduation? Not yet, but we're getting there. I honor you for your time today. Thank you, Colin, for your time as an operator on with us today. I really appreciate you, man. You've been here a lot. And I appreciate everybody who's just dedicated so much to this master's course and to your continually mastery in the world. I look forward to seeing you in our next module. Until then, every single day of your life, live fully, love openly, and make your difference today.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the conference call for today. We thank you all for your participation and ask that you please disconnect your lines. Have a great evening, everyone.